Our next speaker is our new sales director. This woman is absolutely dynamic. A fabulous lady, but I thought she's going to be sharing her story so you can understand where she's coming from, what experiences she's had in life and how that can contribute towards taking Clean Easy where we want it to be. She was the winner of the Young Entrepreneur of the Year. She told me to put young in inverted commas and double underline it and make sure that I highlighted that it was Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And it's Lisa Burke.
Oh, what a shame that you couldn't see that video. I see it before the end of the day, Lisa. Oh, well, it's fabulous to be here. I always love to be in Scotland. I was talking to Lynn earlier and said, I've not quite learnt your language yet. I don't know whether you can hear it, you can understand what I'm coming from the south. Am I okay?
Yeah, we understand you guys.
You've met my language before, but it's absolutely fantastic to be here. You always make me feel so welcome, and it is absolutely fabulous. You know, this business is absolutely on fire at the moment. As you know, you're ripping it up, and we're just going through a tremendous growth phase. It's just absolutely amazing to see. You know, businesses do go in cycles, and we're on such an upward trend cycle right now. And the last time that Clean Easy was going through this type of growth, you will all know, and many of you will know, that Clean Easy made very many millionaires. And I think, you know, it's really to be calling this a millionaires group is really spot on, because everybody has the opportunity in this new cycle to be there and be one of those real team and great players in this new phase, in this growth. So it really is, I'm just so excited about where this business is going. So Lynn asked me to share with you a little bit today of my story. We actually, does it actually work, does it?
Do you want to show the, because nobody seems to be able to work it.
All right, okay, well, we'll see if I can, I'll see if I can make it work. Just to share a little bit about my story, and I've turned it into a little bit of a training on lessons of life, and hopefully some of the things that I've learned along my journey will help you in your business and your life, and you can relate to them, and they will help you. So we're going to go back a little way, right to the very beginning, and if this works, if it doesn't, I don't think it's working. I'll just...
Sorry about that. We have a history.
Shall I just use the enter key?
Yeah, deep by the back.
No, down arrow.
Oh, lessons of life. Okay, this is how it all began for me. So a bit of a cutie, even though I say it myself. Right, this was back in May 1968, so you can work out how old I am now. And I was born in London, and I was born to a single mother who was just 16 at the time. So the first lesson of life I've got to share with you is lesson one. It's not the cards you're dealt, but the way you play the game, because things aren't actually exactly how they look there, because I was actually born Nicola Kent, and 15th of May 1968, so no excuses. Birthday cards at the plenty next May. But I was born, as I say, to a 16-year-old single mum, and single mums weren't really a term back in the 60s. Can anybody remember the swinging 60s? And she was put under a tremendous lot of pressure, didn't have support from her family, and I was placed for adoption. So I was born Nicola Kent, and I was given a new identity, and I was handed over to a fabulous mum and dad in rural Northamptonshire, and became Lisa Jane Martin. And really, as I say, it was lesson one, because it's not the cards you dealt, but how you play the game. And I'll go on a little bit more to share what I mean by that. This was my lovely mum and dad, and they weren't able to have children of their own. I was put into a family. My mother and father had already adopted a little girl 5 years earlier, so I had a sister that became my sister. So you can't see that picture very well, but there's us as our lovely little family unit. Now, I never actually found out that I was adopted, and what I mean by that is we just knew it. People often say to me when I share this story, what you know, well, how were you told? How did you find out you were adopted? I was never told. It was actually part of my bringing up. As far as I was concerned, that was normal. How do you turn an abnormal, what is not a traditional situation, into something that's normal? Well, you deal with it by making it part of life and making it normal. So the way my parents dealt with it as we were growing up, they used to tell us how special we were and how we were chosen, and how that they weren't able to have children of their own, and how God had given them this special gift. That was when we weren't playing them up. So it really was part of our daily existence. So, lesson 2 was a positive environment. How a positive environment can influence what is not the norm. And we learnt that. So, however, having said that we had a very happy childhood, something really just never fitted for me. In rural Northamptonshire, anybody know the county of Northamptonshire? Known very much for its shoemaking trade. And it was pretty much taken that anybody, you know, especially back sort of in the 70s, that you would go through school, you would, if you did well at school, you'd probably end up in the office of the shoe factory. If you didn't do well at school, you'd end up in the shoe factory, and they were your two routes. And I remember from a very early age thinking, this isn't what I want for my life. You know, I saw what I can only describe as mediocrity around me. It was safe, it was lovely, it was, you know, homely, but it wasn't exciting, it wasn't dynamic, it wasn't where I wanted to take my future. And I felt almost, as I was growing up, just a little bit weird for that, because I wasn't like everybody else. I just didn't want this mediocre existence. So, lesson 3 was, just go back, sorry. Should I put up, shut up, and just do the same as everybody else, or should I strive to find the real me? I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that there had to be more out there in life. Things started to change in the 80s. The shoe factories started to go out of, go to China in the main. We had Doc Martens that was a major employer in the area, and they moved all their production to China. And so my dad started worrying for me what I was going to do, so he bought me a sewing machine. And he said, learn how to sew and you'll always have a job. Quite ironic if you think about it now. But if I think back, my lesson 4 was, right, I really need to have a plan. And we've all heard the saying, fail to plan is plan to fail. And I knew I needed to have a plan, but I didn't really know what that plan looked like. In fact, what I knew more was what things weren't going to be for me, what didn't need to be in the plan. And I knew what I didn't need to do was make do. I knew what I didn't need to do was just get by. I didn't want constant routine, and I definitely didn't want to be that job slave. So I knew all the things I didn't want, but the plan was really quite broad, because it was avoid all these things at all costs. So, apart from that, it was like, I don't know where I'm going to go, but I know that I need a plan. And I believe with a passion that I could avoid these things and I would find the route. Well, lesson 5 comes from a really strong influence in my life, and that was my dad. Not with us any longer, but he was just such an influence. He had been, in my opinion, a victim of mediocrity. He had worked in the same shoe factory for 50 years, he got his gold watch, he had his allotment, he went on, he took the family on holiday to Clacton once a year, and we stayed in the same bed and breakfast. And he was happy enough, but it was part of an existence that I knew there was more to life. But I used to say to him, and I remember sitting talking to him endless times, of how I wanted my life to look like. And I used to say things to him, you know, Dad, one day I'm going to live in a big house. One day I'm going to travel the world. one day I'm going to have fast cars. And he used to look at me and he'd say, you know, Lisa, you'll never be satisfied. You'll never be satisfied. Now, he thought that was a negative thing. He thought that you should just put up with your lot and that you should just say, well, that's it, that's life, this is what life's given me. Now, I believe there's a big difference between being satisfied and being grateful. I'm absolutely grateful all of the time for all what I've been able to achieve and all the people around me and everything that we've managed to achieve in our life. But I'll never ever be satisfied. So to me, he was paying me the biggest compliment when he said, you'll never be satisfied. So the big dream was I want to be my own boss, because I believe that all those things that I'm dreaming of, the way that I can untap those things in my life is to take control of my life and be my own boss. So those words ring in my ear so often, Lisa, you'll never be satisfied. And I am thankful that I will never be satisfied, because the day that I do believe will be the day that I stop pushing for more, and I stop wanting more, I stop wanting to achieve more, and through achieving more, helping other people achieve the things that they want to achieve as well. So, best advice I can give is don't be satisfied, be thankful, and always strive for more. So, by the time I was 18, my life took a big change, because I met the love of my life, Tony, at the back. This is the moment he goes red and everybody turns around. And Tony was a local lad, and he had been brought up in a very similar way to me. He was 10 years older than me. You'll be able to notice when you're close to him. Bless him. But for the first time in my life, I actually met somebody that had the same outlook on life as me. The outlook that this is what our environment is, but actually there's a much bigger, wide world out there to be explored. And he had ambition, he shared my ambition and understood where my mindset was, and actually this was something that we could do together. So, here's a picture of us, very young and in love. We actually got married. I was just 19, childhood bride, and as I say, over the years we've sort of had that same ambition in life. So I think again it's a big lesson in here. I've seen so many people over the years that have been held back by the environment around them and the people around them, and not sharing the life of people that, you know, can absolutely share and appreciate and support those dreams and ambition. And it's really important to surround yourself by positive influences and positive people. You all know that, that's why you're here today, to share in the influence of positiveness, and that's really, really important. I think there's another picture here of showing we just celebrated 26 years of marriage last month, and this is what 26 years of marriage has done to us. But at the age of 19, as I say, we were, by this time, although I tell you all this about mediocrity, we felt ourselves actually starting to fall into mediocrity. Tony was working, he'd been in the army for 10 years, he'd just come out of the military army, and he was working. I was training to be an accountant because although I had this ambition, I didn't know how I was going to fulfil it, and I was pretty good with numbers, so I thought I'll just start doing that, and I took a job in an office. And we still knew we wanted more, but oh my goodness, we'd started to become job slaves. And we knew that self-employment was the only route to get out of that. Got questioned, where was Clean Easy then? It wasn't there. Well, it was, but it didn't meet me, or I didn't meet it, unfortunately. I do often think, I wonder what would have happened back then had I met somebody from Clean Easy. But what actually happened is I met somebody from Tupperware. Yes. And Brenda's from the same background as me. And it was Tupperware that first opened up the door to self-employment to me. And a friend said something to me that changed my life forever, and this sentence shapes my life still every day. She said, "Do you know, I think you would be fantastic at doing what I do." Such an easy thing for somebody to say to somebody. And it's such a great lesson as well, because this ties in so much with the training when you talk about 3-foot rule. How often could you say this to somebody that gets within 3 foot of you, and you could make such a difference to that person's life forever? And this friend that said it to me, who herself actually surprisingly didn't even end up staying with the company, but she changed my life forever and introduced me to a new world. So it was really a start of a journey. What happened for me in that company is, before I even started, I recruited 7 people. I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. Didn't know anything really about the business, didn't know anything about direct sales, or it wasn't a network marketing company, it was very single level. But what I did know, and which again can relate to your business, I knew one thing, and that I was excited about it, and I just wanted to share that enthusiasm with people, and everything else just come together. And I just got more and more excited, and the more people I shared the business with, the more excited I got. Relating it back to Clean Easy, that business was very complicated. Clean Easy business is very simple. It took somebody that, and I mean this in the nicest sense, anybody can do Clean Easy. That's the strength of it. I was in a business where I had to find certain people that had a certain set of skills that I was going to be able to nurture. But this business, just like Mike was saying, the numbers, as long as you put the numbers out and you bring the numbers back and you talk to enough people and you teach them to do exactly the same, it's just so simple. What the company did share in common very much with Clean Easy was the power of recognition. We had a meeting that was called, because this business, was an import from the States, and we had a meeting that we went to, and it was called an assembly. And we went to these meetings, and all at once I found I was getting recognition. People were patting me on the back for doing things, rather than I would have been in an environment where normally people only pat you on the back if they want something extra from you, or if they, normally what happens is, if you're doing a good job, no one says anything. If you're doing a bad job, you soon hear about it. And that was really sort of turned on its head, and it was a real unique feeling of getting satisfaction from that. By this point I was 20, and just keeping the story in line, this happened to me. From the age of 18 I was able to tap into my records, my birth records, and by 20 I've been reunited with my birth mother, and that's a picture of her there. It was all with the help of my lovely parents that have brought me up, and still to this day I see as my parents. But to be able to take that piece of jigsaw and put it in place, just to know where my roots had come from, was tremendous. And here's the irony of it: she actually lives in Scotland, and she lives in Arbroath, and there's a picture of her there with her father, who's my granddad, who's in itself has got a fascinating story. He's no longer with us now, but it was great to be able to spend some years with him and find out he was a pilot in Prisoner of War, shot down by Lancaster, sole survivor, walked for 3 weeks, was captured on the border of safety, and then spent the rest of the World War in Colditz. So some fascinating sort of stories that came out of that, and we still have I still have a good relationship with my birth mother. So moving on my lessons, lesson 6. So going back professionally, I was now in a leadership position with Tupperware. I was one of the fastest growing managers. I'd had a car presented to me. I'd gone on foreign trips, etc. All the things that you can relate to and that are available within Clean Easy, although Clean Easy's programme is obviously so much superior. So all things good were happening. By 1990, not only was my business growing, we also had 2 children, just a baby and 12 months old, only just 3. I had Claire. 3 months later I found out I was pregnant with Simon, so we had 2 small babies. Here they are. And I was able to stay at home with them and still build my business. Then Tupperware fell on turbulent times, and I think again this is a great story for Clean Easy, because what I love about this business is that we're UK owned. You are our priority. With Tupperware, it was a US business. We were not their priority. The company fell on turbulent times. We had built a business and we lost it. And it was a big crossroads for us. So what do we do now? Here I am. I wanted to continue to be a stay-at-home mum, and I still wanted to enjoy a good income. So I decided to start a business of my own, learning the things and taking the skills that I'd learned from Tupperware, and started a company called The Gizmo with a friend, Kim. So it's an anagram of Lisa and Kim. Within 2 months of what we were calling pre-launch, I fell pregnant again. I really needed someone to explain what we were doing wrong. We've now worked it out, by the way, it's not 3. And looking back, when I was putting this presentation together, I was looking through obviously getting the photos of the kids to put together. And this is a real testimony to what life was like then. We were so busy we didn't even have time to take a picture of the new baby. So the only picture I can show you of Gemma is an up-to-date one, and this is her now, bless her, age 21. So 3 children. So here we have 3 children under 3. A company in pre-launch. Tony was still working full-time, and it was like, what the hell are we going to do? My business partner hadn't got the same ambition as me. She wanted to go out and do a few parties and just keep it at that. And I'm going, we can make this worldwide, what's wrong with you? She says, well, you're pregnant with your third. Well, that doesn't matter. We'll find a way. If you want to do something, you'll find a way of doing it. So we really had a crossroads moment. Do we take a risk, or do we play it safe? Do we say we gave it a try, but it just wasn't right for us right now and our family circumstances and blah, 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 blah? We hear it every day, don't we? Or do we take the risk and go, we've got something really good here, we're going to make it work? So this is what we did. We remortgaged our house. Tony gave up his job. We bought out the business partner who hadn't got any vision. And the whole of our family, our friends, the rural village in Northamptonshire we lived in, all thought we were the most craziest people on the planet. I think if they'd had the ability to have had us sectioned, we'd have been in that yellow van as faster than you could have said anything. But we knew we could do it. We had total belief, and we had the biggest why anyone could ever wish to have. Because if we didn't, we lost everything we had. We lost our home, we lost everything. So, what did we do? Well, first of all, we worked day and night, and we knew that the way that we were going to secure our future was through the sponsoring of people. We had to have a lot of people out there in this business promoting our products. And just like in the leadership within Clean Easy, the rules are the same. That if you're building a big business, then you need to focus solely on your people, on the sponsoring and the supporting and the caring of people. And that was the role I took. There was lots of other things, especially obviously as we had all the logistical side to think of that needed to be done, but we just simply said, anything else can be done by somebody else. In fact, Tony, that's your problem. Just let me go out and build the business and build it big, sponsoring, caring, coaching, and that is exactly what we did. Caring for people is really important. People see through people. People know when you really care for them, and they'll walk through over hot coals for you if you give them back that support and that care and that mentoring and that coaching. And that was really important in what we did. We really cared for people and showed them the way. Something I always taught to my people all the way through as I was developing them, to have a real rich moral fibre. And what I mean by that is, if you say you're going to do something, do it. It's really simple. But when you prove to people that you're totally reliable, then they'll become reliable back, or they'll fall by the wayside, one or the other. But you know that you've given them everything you can possibly do, have a rich moral fibre. But also know when to let go. I'll always remember the first recruit that left me, and I'm sure many leaders in the room, many people that recruit will relate to this. I thought my world had come to an end. I really did. And then you learn the skill of letting go. Some will, some won't. Who's next? But knowing, and this was part of the development, knowing when that time to let go is really important. Knowing that you've given your best, and once you've given your best, it's now time to move on. Overcoming the path of least resistance, and what I mean by this is, quite often, I don't know whether you'll experience this, you know, you'll talk to people and their ears are listening, but that's the only thing that's listening. And people very quickly can go into what we call the comfort zone, their comfortable world. And I learn again very quickly in my business, the people to pick out those people that were teachable and coachable and that wanted to change their life, and those ones that went onto the comfort zone road. That's fine for you, but I'm going to spend, you've all heard the 80-20 rule, I'm going to spend 80% of my time with the 20% of the people that really have got the bit between their teeth to go and make this business work. And that was something that I had to, in order to make the very best use of my time with the short time we had to make this work, to not lose our house, I had to learn that very quickly, to pick out the right people to really give my energy and time to. Encourage people to dream. This was a big part of my philosophy. Einstein said that dreaming was one of the most powerful skills that you could ever learn. Einstein, with all that knowledge and all that brain, and he recognised that the ability to dream was more important than all of knowledge. And I always think, you know, at school, did anybody ever sit us down and say, let's learn to dream? Did they sit us down and say, let's learn how to do algebra? How was it? Has anybody ever used algebra in their adult life?
No, exactly.
I think they should have taught us how to dream. So I made that part of the foundations of my business and taught people how to dream. Commit to excellence, not perfection. This is something I had to learn really quickly, because I am by nature a bit of a perfectionist, and what I mean by that is I sort of Tony's going, what? Well, in certain areas then. Certainly in my business life, it is thinking about when I throw my clothes on the floor and don't pick them up. In my business life, I am a bit of a perfectionist, and what I mean by that, I sort of, if I don't get everything spot on, I beat myself up, and I struggle with this one today. And I had to learn that you can't always be a perfectionist. You've got to strive for excellence, to do everything that you possibly can, but not to spend too much energy and time worrying when everything isn't just too perfect. Because that thing that you notice, that you think hasn't been perfect, probably no one else has even noticed, and you could have spent all that time and energy on something that was much more productive. So just striving very much more for excellence rather than perfection. It's not what you say, it's the way that you say it. It's a skill that I had to learn really quickly. You always, do you think think back to situations where you can't remember exactly what somebody said to you, but you absolutely remember how they made you feel, whether that was good or bad. And I think that sort of demonstrates how important it is to choose your words carefully, because that can make a lasting impression on how you make that person feel. And a little skill that I used to train people was always, if you've got something a little bit negative to say to somebody, you're saying it probably for the right reasons, but you're saying it to coach them into being better in the future, then always sandwich it with a compliment. Start off with a nice compliment, then deliver that little bit of bad news or that little bit of negative, you might say, sort of constructive, should we say, constructive criticism, and then just finish it with something really nice and positive with what they're doing. And then finally, what we did was always committed to, if there was ever an obstacle that we had to overcome, find an opportunity within it. And a little story demonstrates this really quite nicely. We, our business was essential oils, and one of the products was a room burner. You know, we sell cleaners. And we had the room burners manufactured quite locally to us at a local pottery, and one day we had a phone call from the pottery and it went something like, really sorry, we're not going to be able to supply you anymore because the company is going into liquidation. Now, our room burners was something like 25% of our business, and our essential oils all needed room burners to go in to burn them. So really, what we could have done is thrown our hands up and gone, and they were our sole supplier, big lesson to learn, but we could have thrown our hands up and gone, oh my goodness, that means we're finished. Instead, first of all, I shouted at Tony, that was my first reaction, do something! I think it went something like that. Then I cried, and then after we got over all those emotions, we sat down and go, right, what can we do? And what we actually did was contacted the landlord of the pottery, the electricity company, the gas company, and found a way of negotiating, reopening the business and in our names. And then we went and said, oh, but we've not got any staff to create the pots, what are we going to do? We've got orders to go out tomorrow. So by this point we were employing about 40 odd people in our warehouse. And so we got them all together and said, who wants to come and help us make some pots tonight? We're going to teach you how to make some room burners. So we went from the office over to 10 miles over to the pottery factory. That night, all the staff learned to become potters, a bit like a scene from Ghost. We put all the pots in the kiln, and we had our first production of room burners. And the opportunity that came out of that obstacle was we actually built that pottery back up as a separate business. We got a contract with British Home Stores to make their lamps, and about 6 months later we sold the business for a profit, and we had an ongoing supply of our burners. So I think it just demonstrates there's always a way to overcome obstacles if you can find a way through. And then finally, what we did is we didn't let anybody steal our dream. There's again a story that demonstrates this. I remember going to the Enterprise Council. At the time they were giving away grants for people to start businesses. 3 children under 3, remember, I've been to the bank, this was the 90s, they weren't giving money away, and they certainly weren't giving the money away to a woman with 3 children under 3, with no collateral in her house now because she's already remortgaged it once. I presented a business plan to them and said, look, I am part qualified accountant, I know what I'm doing. He looked at me, he shook his head, and he said, I'm sorry, you must have your decimal point in the wrong place. Oh, God. So I walked out of that meeting feeling quite despondent. What I was able to tell him some years later was, yes, he was right, I did have my decimal point in the wrong place, but not in the way that he said. We actually, in the first year, we trebled that initial business plan, and he was actually, the time that I saw him, when I was able to put him right, was when he was judging the Young Entrepreneur of the Year Awards, which in 1999, I was awarded Young Entrepreneur of the Year. So, what actually happened as a result of this positiveness? In the first 5 years, we doubled our turnover every single year. And it will come as no surprise, with a focus on sponsoring and recruiting, we doubled every single year the size of our, we called them a sales force then, but the network every single year. It was a party plan business, so as I say, different to Clean Easy, but Clean Easy is far better because of the duplicatable business that this is, and the simplicity that the business has. Over the next 17 years, we really benefited from not being satisfied with our lot. We built a multi-million-pound business. We built it in 8 countries worldwide. We also, I wrote a book on aromatherapy, and another nice little anecdotal story really. I had a friend that was a publisher, and he worked for a company that was connected to HarperCollins, and I wrote this book, and it nearly didn't get written because I remember proofreading it round the pool on holiday, and a gust of wind come along, and the whole manuscript ended up in the pool, the first manuscript. Luckily we had a copy of it. But we got through all of that, and the night before it was about to go to print, we were scheduled for 50,000 copies to be printed. And a knock on the door, and it was my friend Mick, and he looked pale, and I said, "What's wrong?" He said, you're not going to like what I've got to tell you." Come on, what's wrong? What's wrong? He said, "I'm really sorry, but they've pulled the plug. They're not going to print the book." Now, by this point, we've got 50,000 about to be printed, and it was going to be sold through our base of distributors. So we'd already got it in the catalogue to be launched. We'd already told people it was coming, and we were being told it can't happen. Why? Oh, they've said that they've decided that the market's too populated. Thank you very much, that's the word. You know, they're a little bit worried because it makes some claims regarding, you know, illnesses and correcting illnesses and all this stuff. So I said, well, again, after I shouted at Tony and after I cried, there's a pattern here, I then said, right, well, we'll print it ourselves then. Mick said, Lisa, you don't want to do that, you don't want to self-publish. Said the average self-publisher sells 500 books. You don't want to be paying for 50,000 print run. I said, yes, I do. All systems go. Over the next few years, we sold 350,000 copies of that aromatherapy book. So along with obviously all the personal satisfaction and the many people that over the years we were able to really offer an opportunity to, and I would say that for me is also one of the biggest satisfactions of all. I'm going to show you some of the things that we managed to change in our life that are material, but I have to say that outside of the material things that are almost like a badge to say, yeah, this is what we've managed to accomplish. One of the big accomplishments from me is how you can empower other people to change their lives. That you can't put a house up and say, this is what I've achieved as a badge to that. That comes from within, what you've been able to really help people change their lives. And that is so very, very important and so very, very fulfilling. On the material side, we managed to trade in our 3-bedroom semi that we'd remortgaged and had a fear of losing for a lovely country home. And this is our home in Northamptonshire with a pool and all the trimmings of success. And I show you this because what the message that I have out of this for all you guys is, in Clean Easy, you have the vehicle. to achieve these things. Because it's all about a vehicle. What we created for ourselves was a vehicle to achieve success and financial freedom. And we achieved it through our mindsets and through our perseverance and overcoming all these obstacles. And it relates so much in parallel with the Clean Easy business, because that is your vehicle. And if you adapt that same mindset and that same positiveness to your business, you can have exactly the same, and people in Clean Easy have achieved the same and really changed their lives. So this is how we changed ours. We traded in the Ford Escort. This was a great story. Tony had always dreamed of owning a Jag, and it was about 3 days before Christmas. And I've been so busy, I hadn't even thought about what I was going to buy Tony for Christmas. And I walked into the Jaguar garage. When anybody knows anything about the car industry, the only thing that they do in car showrooms 3 days before Christmas evening is pie and drink alcohol and party. And I walked in and I said, I want a Jag and I want it for Christmas, and I'll only have it if you can supply it and decorate it with helium balloons. And I really think they thought I'd just walk, come on, who is this mad woman? So anyway, we negotiated and we sorted it out, and we had it delivered into our warehouse, and sure enough, it had the helium balloons. And Christmas morning, I presented Tony with a personal number plate, and he thought that was fantastic. That was his Christmas present. We were going to the local hotel for Christmas dinner, and we had my mum and dad in the car, and as we were driving past the warehouse, I said to Tony, oh God, I've forgotten the table gifts, we've got to go to the office. He said, Lisa, it's Christmas Day, we are not going to the office. I said, we are going to the office because I've forgotten the table gifts. So we're arguing in the car, and I'm thinking, in a minute, you are not going to get this, Jack. Just forget it. So we get into the car park, and of course my mum and dad know what's going on. They start getting out of the car. And Tony's going, no, we're already late. Oh no, we're not going in. Yes, we're all going in. So we get into the warehouse, and then he sees the Jag in front of him with the helium balloons. And then suddenly, he's not in any rush anymore to go out for Christmas dinner. I've got to have a drive of the car. No, sorry, you can't. We're really late now. Off we go. But they're the sort of things you can do as a result. Pure belief and drive. Now this was actually a holiday that I let Tony book once. I remember going to a Tupperware conference, and he said to me, you've been working really hard, I'm going to go and book you a holiday, I'm going to go and book us a holiday. And we had a caravan in Mablethorpe in Easter with no heating and 3 small babies, well 2 babies actually. And we changed all that. Yeah. We changed it. This was my 40th birthday actually in the Maldives, which we'll be heading to again, as you know, in a few weeks with Clean Easy. So that's the trappings of the success and all that is available to everybody that adopts that same mindset. And then finally, that's our lovely home in Spain. We're fortunate enough to have the villa and all the things that come with it as a home in the sun. So it is a mindset, it is a work ethic, and you do have that vehicle to copy all of that within Clean Easy. In 2006, another thing happened in our life. We were approached by, some of you know this story, we were approached by Channel 4. And it was part of the Young Entrepreneur that I'd won, and they'd been doing some research, and they wanted somebody that they could put a story around, being a mum with a happy family life and having a business. And they approached me to say, would I like to be part of a reality television show? And for 2 years I kept saying, no, we don't want to do that, no, we don't want to do that. And I think when they said to me that, but your brand will be shown in front of 5 million people, and we want to really, really highlight the benefits of your sort of the female, the work ethic and the family life. Eventually I said, all right, we'll do it. So in 2006 we took part in Wife Swap. That's a bit of a story for another day. But I just wanted to include it because, again, it's part of a life lesson, and there's lots of lessons I learned from it, but the biggest one I learned was really, again, about a positive environment. When I first got there, I was taken to a family in Liverpool. Anybody from Liverpool here before I say more? A place called Norris Green that it's been in the news a lot recently, actually, for gang murders. While I was there was actually 2 murders in the street while I was there. And the first day I got there, I went in, and Vinny, who was to be my new husband, came in with 4 small children and said, first words, whatever you do, don't leave the front door open because the cats will get out. I said, right, what will happen? They'll get shot. Right, what do I do about the kids? Oh, that's all right, they can play out on the street. This is going to be good. So I've spent 9 days there. Tony had a new wife called Nancy because she didn't have any front teeth. But it's a great, there is a lot of, I can tell you about those 9 days, but as I say, the lesson in life part of it was, as these reality stories go, you start off and you're quite friendly, then you all bust up, and there's in the middle, and then you all make up at the end. Well, on our make-up bit at the end, the production crew had arranged for him to go and do some photography around Liverpool because he was actually a really budding photographer. He actually got a first in English, this guy, and his family was living in an area where there was, as I say, 2 killings. And when I had a conversation and said, why don't you actually try and change your life? He said, oh no, good things don't happen to people like us. You've got that sort of, he was in that attitude of, why should I try and get out of this because none of it's possible. And then we took his photographs and we did an exhibition in a local shopping centre, and I showed him how to sell his photographs, and it shows you him on telly going, oh my God, Lisa's shown me that I could actually do something different with my life. People are buying my photographs, I can't believe it. So there was this sort of like realisation coming across to him that there was another way, that I don't have to just put up with life. Then 3 months later, after all the show had finished, they then take you back and see how life's gone on after you've left. And the biggest lesson of that, or what came out of that, was showing him actually he's gone right back to his life before. Because Nancy, she was in the same mindset. Nancy said, when she went back, don't be silly, you can't do something like that, nobody's going to be interested in that. Let's just go back to life where we all feel very comfortable and secure. That's how our life's going to be. And I think it is just such a strong lesson about making sure that you share company with the right type of people. So then, in 2009, life took a turn for us again, and we were approached by the Virgin Group to sell our company. And by this time the business had been trading for 17 years, obviously we'd had lots of success and things go in cycles, and we just decided, actually, maybe it's time, maybe, this is the right time for us to do something different, get the value out of the business, and it'll go to a company that's world renowned and can put lots of extra investment in and take it from what is currently 8 countries to completely worldwide, and that'll be great for the people and blah, blah, blah. Within 18 months, the whole of that arm had actually been closed down, and all of that 17 years of work we saw go, which was really, really sad. And it's, again, another story of life that you look back and might have done things differently, but hey, you move on, and we wouldn't be here starting having this conversation now if that part of our life hadn't happened. So, then what happened next? At that same time, we sort of came to another crossroads. Right, we've been doing all this. What comes next for us? we took a little bit of time out. We went to Spain. And we decided we were going to do the good life and put our feet up for a bit. But what I discovered was, life isn't a destination, it's a continuous journey, and I was driving myself insane with boredom to what comes next. And then I got a call from Clean Easy. And Clean Easy going through a new phase, new of me. I've been doing some consultancy work across the industry and been particularly involved with some companies in helping them turn their businesses around and doing some re-engineering of their offering. And would I be interested in coming along and having a discussion about getting involved in the company? And I thought, well, you know what, let's go and have a look, let's go and see what this is all about. And the more I found out and discovered about this business model, the more excited I got, as I've already said within the presentation. I'd obviously heard of Clean Easy. I've been involved in the Direct Selling Association, where I sat on the board of directors for 12 years for my company, so I'd brushed up against the company, but I've not really got involved to the extent of understanding the inner workings. And the more I saw and the more I got excited and more excited. So, as you know, I came on board and I was with the company for 12 months. And then, at that time, there was a little bit of a different culture in HQ. Absolutely loved the network, the leadership, and felt at home. And I think you can probably see from my story why I felt and feel so at home, because so like-minded mindset. But it wasn't the same within HQ, and I got a level of frustration that I felt was part of my 7th lesson, really, that you always have to be true to yourself. And although I felt good while I was out in the network, when I went back at the head office, the frustrations were too great to bear with what I wanted to do for the network. So I took a break out. And as it turned out, it was probably the best thing I did, because then back in February this year I got a call from the CEO of the company, and it went something like, Lisa, would you come and have a cup of tea with me? I really want to talk to you. And that talk went with, you made a really lasting impression when you were here with us before, and some of the ideas and the things you want to do, we're ready to implement them. Would you come back? So I bit off his hand, well not literally, but I could have done, and said, absolutely, if I can do those things, then we're on. And so since February, it has been just such a tremendous journey. As I say, we're ripping this thing up. We've made some of the big changes. One of the things that was mentioned earlier, break free, that was a thing that we needed to change, and has made such a huge difference already to the business. Some of the offerings that we're offering to the customer, they're now absolutely second to none. And I think this is just such a true statement, is that life is not a dress rehearsal. You do have to be true to yourself, because it's not a dress rehearsal. The curtain's up and you have to get out there and you have to give it your best shot always, and that is something that I try to live by every day. On a personal level, these are our 3 children now that are all grown up, and they say there's no poorer man than he that just has money. And one thing that we have been able to share with our children, and that you are all able to through your Clean Easy business, is that role model and that work ethic. And they've grown up to be children and young adults that we're proud of, and that we've been able to give them that positive surrounding and show them that they can have more, they can do anything with their life that they believe and dream, and we will support them to do it and empower them to be their own individuals. Within Clean Easy, to use the word exciting is such an understatement. We say our exciting future, but it's everything, every word that you imaginable, buzzword imaginable that you could add to it. It is phenomenal. As you know, those of you who've been around, the pounds that are available in this business, the income that's available in this business is like nothing else out in the marketplace. You heard me say that I've been involved in companies, in turnarounds, and in looking at marketing plans I know most marketing plans that are out there. I've crunched most of them because I do numbers, and I can tell you there is nothing like the income that can be generated through the Clean Easy business. One thing that we're so concentrating on at the moment is what's shown us there as KISS, keep it simple. I didn't call you stupid. Just keep it simple, sweetie, or whatever you want to call it. Or what is it? Clean Easy is so simple. Another way of looking at
there we go.
it just needs to be kept simple, and we're so focused on making sure that that is absolutely within our makeup all of the time. We're really innovating. You're telling me you're loving all the new catalogues and all the new ranges and the Just For You and the Plus Burke and all the new items that we're taking to the market. Your customers are telling us they love it. Plus Burke has been a phenomenal success, and we are surprised ourselves even further to find out that the Just For You personalisation is now as successful as the Plus Burke. So we're getting as much sales from that now as we are the Plus Burke. And it's absolutely phenomenal, the opportunity to introduce new people to this business, earn income, instant income straight away, and show them how to introduce other people to do the same is just phenomenal. And the extra value we're offering to customers through our offering is really appreciated. We're in the middle of our Adventure of the Seas qualification. How many of you have got this on your wish list, have got it on your target list, have got a picture of Adventure of the Seas on the fridge or wherever you need to put it? You may have picked up, I hope you've picked up that this has now been extended to cover to period 1, so it's from period 10 now to period 1. And what I love about this promotion, and I hope you appreciate too, is that every single person in the business can achieve this, because everybody started at the same point, which was 0. On the day it started, everybody had 0 new business sales, and then anybody you introduced into the business from period 10 and all their sales all added together up to the end of period 1 will get you into the new business league table. So everybody has the same chance, and we've just seen the new league tables come through. We're also adding onto your points for new business 5,000 virtual points for each time you do go up the sales plan. So if you go gold and then go bronze in the period, wouldn't that be lovely? You'd get 10,000 points. You're getting 5,000 extra points added onto for career plan progression. And we've also got year-on growth for SCD and Premier. We're obviously going to Dubai and the Maldives, and there's many of you in the room. Put your hands up if you've been on an international incentive with the company. Right, everybody that's not got their hands up, just take note of who has, because you need to talk to these people over the break, because there's nothing else like it. There's, again, I've been on trips with other companies and I've put my own trips on. There's nothing like a Clean Easy trip. The friendship and the camaraderie and the networking outside of beautiful locations, it actually wouldn't matter where you are, because to rub shoulders with the top people in this business and what you learn is so invaluable. So if you haven't got Adventure of the Seas on your wish list, I can only really recommend that you do, and in future be with us on these Clean Easy adventures, because it's phenomenal. A friend of mine this morning put this on Facebook, and I just had to write it down because it was incredible, just knowing that it went with what I was talking to you about today. It said, keep going. Each step may get harder, but don't stop. The view is beautiful at the top. And I want everybody to have the opportunity of having that view from the top, because it is an amazing view, and I want to share it with absolutely everyone. And in the words of Bob Proctor, the only limits in our life are those that we impose on ourselves. Thank you very much.